moving away from sedans and into the sport utility market is something I've seen over the last few years, with that compact SUV crossover segment really filling the void. And as we move away from sedans, well, there's a crossbreeding of sorts taking place. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now behind me is the offering, the 2018 Ford EcoSport. And what it does is kind of blend a little bit of SUV, a little bit of sedan, and throws in a whole lot of quirky. So this is the EcoSport Titanium Edition, and while there's no rare metals on the inside, the titanium notes the premium luxury that awaits you when you step inside. So although the outside looks geekish and the Eco name kind of implies green friendly, well, at least on the interior, they gave you kind of a lazy boy feel, and I'll show you that in just a second. But first off is the exterior. Now, when you start to go away from sedans, this is what happens, a crossbreeding of giving you, well, a niche vehicle that fits all the evolutions of where we are. A little elevation, a little squanching down, a little bit higher roof line, and, well, no crawling into the vehicle, but rather a step in. And it truly starts, well, with what the numbers are. So what are the numbers when it comes to the EcoSport? Now, first one to look at really is overall roof height. The thing you get with utilitarian side of things is higher roof lines, and with that ease of ingress, specifically for someone like me, 6-foot+ frame. On average, sedans being 10 to 12 inches lower. Now what you see here is around about 5.5 feet tall. The vehicle fairly narrow at about 6 feet, not including the mirrors. Now where this vehicle can fall short and, well, is truly compact is the overall length. Now about 161 inches, wheelbase at 99, but what you see at the four corners is that the wheels are truly pushed about far out as they can go. Now the EcoSport should give you a little indication of really what the design's going to be, and it kind of reminds me of my teenage years, the awkwardness I once had, and, well, probably still do. And you can see it right across the high-waisted midline, like my pants when they were pulled up too high, the mismatching of appointments, the chrome accent followed by the brush at the top with a little bit of sport thrown in, like when I wore my tennis shoes with my khakis. Well, you see it here at the four corners with the overall design looking like a throwback Thursday roller skate. But, well, EcoSport, well, this is what you get. But what you also get is some nice innovations, and it always starts with the smart key system. Pretty much keep it in your pocket, forget about it, and basically get in with these, with simply just placing your hand here or pressing the button there. Everything locks, unlocks with ease, and that's what I like, because when you want to get to this vehicle, you want to get in fast, because the reward truly is going to be on the inside. Now the EcoSport could be referred to as a MUV, a mini utilitarian vehicle, offering just enough utilitarian side but not massive like the Ford Expedition, and most of the time a utilitarian starts right here at the back end. Now first off is design, modest little offerings, not going to give you any real wow factor, but there is a backup sensors and backup camera. Now when it comes to operation, what's interesting is, well, they didn't go standard operating procedure by any means, no standard hatch. So what's great is get the family, say, hey, can you throw some gear in here? They're going to spend maybe 15, 20, 40 seconds right in this area looking for the release, but instead it's actually hidden right here in the rear tail light, and it kind of mirrors what you see over there. But simply pull right here, nice electronic release, it's going to swing out of the way. And what that does is really give you one huge offering right in here to the back end, and what you see is really that nice cavernous area. Now some people have mentioned that this seems kind of small. Well, not to me. This is going to be around about 20 cubic feet of space, so obviously stepping it up much more than a sedan, and really on average for some SUVs. Now with everything laid flat, it's going to be more than double, around about 50 cubic feet. Diving into the cargo area just a little bit more, one thing you'll notice is this really small tonneau cover. And, well, is it overkill? Well, probably, because it's only about a foot of offering here, and with the windows and side portals, I'm not sure how much you could actually see inside, but it is there to add some security. Now if you want to remove it, you can tug right here and it does release into place. And one thing to note is with all of its operation, it actually still takes up about half of the opening here, so it really doesn't get up out of the way at all. Now what you'll see down below is fairly nice stacked squared off area, and with the seat backs at their angle, what you'll notice is really bigger options down below, and as you move up, well, it's going to be kind of a pyramid stacking of things because the seats do angle back. Now below the cargo floor, well, don't worry about it, there's nothing there to note, but if you do want to opt for a spare, it does adorn there on the back side of the tailgate. Now when it comes to horsepower, with this titanium, you're stepping things up just a hair, but if you go with more of a base model, well, it's just going to be a little bit more anemic. Now specifically, the two engines is either a 1.0 liter EcoBoost inline 3-cylinder or the IS tested 2.0 liter inline 4-cylinder. Now the base engine is going to deliver around about 123 horses and 125 foot-pounds of torque, with the as tested model 166 horses and 149 foot-pounds of torque. Now one thing to note really across the board when it comes to this model is it is somewhat a eventual get up and go. It's really good in the city, but on the highway takes just a little bit more oomph and well time to get to, well, highway speed. So let's talk about interior comfort. First off, here in the second row. Now first thing you'll notice really is the overall comfort. Now interestingly, it is one of the broadest seat bottoms I've seen. A lot of depth here. Other SUVs or crossovers in this segment really fall short by about 4 or 5 inches. This seat bottom really wide. Now what that means is basically it cushions you a lot further than you expect, and basically when you get in tight right about here, my front seat about in its furthest position of where I typically would sit. What that means is, well, these niches here on the seat backs are going to come in handy, and even better, the cushioning on the seat backs, because it is kind of a knee bleeding affair. Now back here by the numbers about 36 inches, in the front around about 41. Now what that means is it wouldn't hurt, with a little bit extra space up front, to slide these forward. Now back years ago I tested the Suzuki Grand Vitara, and what I found on that one was really there was no comfort zone anywhere. Even when you move the seats forward, everyone's cramped up. The seat positioning in the back made everyone cramped just the same. This vehicle not fitting that bill at all. This really giving you decent comfort. Now what I wouldn't mind is maybe this seat bottom being just a hair shorter. It just seems, well, just too pronounced. Now otherwise it does have decent comfort. Headroom is fairly modest, maybe just a little bit tight here on the outer portion for my height overall. Now it does have room enough technically for 3. There's kind of a hint of a seat belt in the middle, but truly this is a 2+2 design, with the third occupant really getting nice and cozy. Now lastly is overall comfort, with a very modest center console with barely any elbow support, really having to tuck your elbow back to get in there, but it does have dual cup holders that appear to hold maybe some modest offerings. Now if you do want to transform into cargo in the second row, one thing you have to do is kind of a 2-step process. First really is to pull this handle here. That's going to tumble the seat cushion forward. Now secondly is on the shoulder rest here, press this handle, it's going to tumble the seat back. Now what's going to happen is you notice that the headrests are of course in the way, but what's great is I love how these headrests are really making life so much easier. By simply pressing this button, they tumble and tuck out of the way. Now what that means is it really folds down with ease. Now depending on front seat positioning, this could require the front seats to go forward just a hair, but once that's laid flat, you will notice that the rear cargo is lower just by a little bit compared to the second row, but that is to be expected. So not one flat seamless cargo area, but at least some transitioning that's made easy. For the entertainment system, you're going to find a huge touchscreen really up high on the dash, making it really just a glance over versus a glance down. Now this is the Ford system we've come used to, really the quadrant like design, nice shortcuts down below, and this really makes life so much easier with its intuitiveness and really navigation. And what I always like, of course, is the home button that gets you back to where you started should you get lost, but tons of options and settings. Now down below it is the shortcuts for volume and tune select and various functions, and of course the sound settings, which I love to adjust here and there. Below the entertainment system, you'll find the climate controls, and what I like with Ford is they really do it well with a huge oversized fan speed knob, mode select in the middle, as well as the digital readout for the temperature. Now the digital readout for temperature and fan speed do translate up above, but the other functions pretty much are utilized here. Now there are heated seats but no cool down option. Now auto stop is a nice feature on a lot of vehicles. It really allows it to be more economic, shutting off at stop signs, stoplights, whatever. But what I truly like is when you can turn that feature off permanently versus having to do it every time you get in the car, and Ford does it quite well with a permanent off button. Should you want to actually leave it on, just simply press that button. Now it's in the auto start, auto stop. But having to turn this on and off every time is a pain, and Ford solved that by simply putting in a switch. Now pretty much straightforward analog tach and speedometer, but it does have a nice digital readout in between. Now the only feature I truly like in this area is a digital readout for speed, but there are tons of options if you just scroll through, but you will have to kind of navigate to find the digital readout for speed. But I love it because it's just a nice quick glance down. Between the front occupants, you find dual cup holders with nice spring-loaded grippers that hold everything into place, but though I must say, a little Dr. Pepper bottle still sling around just a hair. Now there is a little niche for your phones or whatever, maybe some change holder there. Now as for the center console, again a modest little offering, probably a little too far back. Does have kind of a dual tray option, upper tray to hold most items and a deeper little area below, but no connectivity inside this console. That does for this edition where we're going to test drive behind the wheel of the 2018 Ford EcoSport, a vehicle that minimizes utilitarian thinking and maximizes what it delivers on the inside. After all, has decent cargo, squared off lines, and has just enough room really for 4 people, a 5th maybe in a pinch, and well, just enough horsepower really to deliver you around the city. Now as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.